for 2020. Hope everybody is doing fantastic and had a great holiday season, and that everybody is happy and healthy. So today we obviously have a very special Facebook, YouTube Live that we wanted to bring you. Hopefully most of you have seen the press release that has gone out and the various social shares that we've had for this announcement. So what we've done here is put out this announcement about this restructuring and new mission statement. And so we wanted to take this opportunity to kind of go in and explain this in kind of a more further detail. And in order to do that, we've got the PCA president, Greg Zimmerman, and new manufacturer associate board member and executive committee member, Mike Conder from Crown Heads, to join us. Good morning, gentlemen. How are you both doing today?
Good.
Good, Scott.
Everybody alive and kicking? Thank you. Happy New Year to you as well. Everybody alive and kicking?
Yeah, barely. We're limping through, but
Yeah.
we're limping here at the beginning of this year. But
All my tests are negative, as they say, so another good day under my belt.
Well, there you go. Exactly. Including the insanity one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially
Fantastic.
that one.
Yeah. Unfortunately, mine's been positive in that column for far too long. So as we're just kind of explaining here, we wanted to take the opportunity in order for us to kind of explain a little bit more and have a conversation with folks about this press release that went out, kind of explicating a little bit more about the structural changes that we've made here at the organization, as well as this refined mission statement and what that really means. So in order to kick that off, I just kind of want to go through and lay the land a little bit here. So as we all know, about 10, 12 years ago, we had obviously, I guess it's been more than that now with S-chip. And really kind of what happened is the FDA, all the anti-groups and everything else, they landed at our doorstep. And it was really a time for the industry to rally together. And then as the IPCPR at the time undertook that challenge and dove into the fray with everybody and thought, you know what, we need to come together as the industry to battle our way through this. And we know that we actually had some success with the court battles and some of these other advocacy issues and lobbying issues that we had undertaken. And now that we've kind of gotten through that, now when we've got some semblance of sort of stability now as we're kind of working through this, and ourselves have built a foundation here for a good advocacy work, we kind of recognize now is the time for us to come through that now and sort of refocus on where we're at. So on that note, we decided to undertake this. It was a professionally facilitated strategic planning session with the entire board last year, and really work through some of the very challenging questions. And we talked about this. Nothing was off the table. A lot of it was kind of uncomfortable dealing with a lot of questions that have come up. So the mission statement that we really worked on and worked through has come out that PCA exists to grow the business of specialty tobacco retailing. Greg, if you want to go ahead and kind of dive into really sort of why we landed on that mission statement and what that really means, and why crystallizing that specific mission statement is a powerful moment for us right now, and kind of where we're going to be taking that.
Sure. Thanks, Scott. Yeah, as you mentioned, I can tell you participating in this meeting was difficult. It was uncomfortable at times, and there was a point during this exercise that I felt that I had to kind of keep quiet, because I wanted to get some fresh perspective on by having the whole board in DC and being able to do this exercise. So it was good to get some fresh ideas and some fresh set of ears and eyes on it. But we felt that as you mentioned, 2008 S-chip is kind of when this whole way the PCA, RTDA at the time, then IPCPR, now PCA, was conducting its business. No longer were we a trade show with a big party. They were great times. They were easy, and the organization has been transforming since day one. I remember this will be my 27th trade show. I'm missing 2020, so that this really would be 28 shows. And even before I came, the way business was conducted, Mike could probably even touch on that. He's been around a couple of years longer than I have, I think. They used to set up in hotel rooms, and they would conduct their business in different. You'd go to a room to buy pipes. You'd go to another hotel room to buy cigars from this guy. But that was before my time. So we have to be able to transform. So up until 2008, we really focused on being an organization to help retailers be better retailers. I look back at an article from an almanac. I think it was the president's statement to the membership in, oh my gosh, I think it was in the 40s or 50s. I can't remember which year it was. And it was amazing. I actually could almost take that same script and impose it in an article today. Some of this stuff is still relevant. And basically it was trying to teach retailers how to be better retailers. 2008, that all changed. We had to become very focused on litigation and, legislation and stuff that was affecting the way we conduct business. And that kind of escalated every year, and it got harder and harder. And we got to a point where we felt that this organization needed to coalesce and come together, and with a common focus, move forward and attack these problems head on. However, there was some issues that some of the different groups, may have had a different strategic plan moving, on how we would conduct litigation, how would we lobby the legislature to affect change. And we realized that we couldn't kind of bring that group together under one umbrella. So with this mission statement, I know it's a long answer to get back to your original question. We need to get back to focusing on what we're good at. We're good retailers. We want to teach other retailers coming in, and maybe old retailers that have been around a while that have not transformed into how business is conducted today. We felt that it was imperative that we bring in manufacturing partners to help us in that task. There's a lot of guys that manufacturing side see retail all over the country. I mean, we're kind of focused in a little bubble. Most retailers are. They only see what they have in front of them. And I tell a story a lot that, when I get in a room with other retailers, I've been in business, self-employed now for, 40 years now. Yeah, close to it. About 40 years. And, I thought I had all the answers, but when I get in a room with other retailers, sometimes I'm like, holy shit, I'm sorry.
It's all right. The FCC is not going to censor us. We're good.
The new acronym isn't watching us, SHAFT or whatever.
Yeah, no.
So, I thought I had all the answers, but I learned something new every day when I'm around other retailers, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I never thought of that. So I think bringing these two groups together in a common theme that is not controversial. We will focus on retailer issues as it pertains to legislation at the state and local level, and obviously on the federal level, and we will help and do what we can. But I think this is something that really there's no controversy. There's no issues that we can't. We need to be better, and the manufacturers need us to be better to sell more of their product.
Yeah, so I think that's a great segue into for you, Mike, is as we're looking at this and being a manufacturer that has been on the board now for a few years, and kind of taking in and considering all of this, from your perspective as a manufacturer, now looking at this and looking at this mission statement, and so as a message to manufacturers now, how I guess, it's a little bit of a change, but it really kind of isn't. It's really kind of a change back to kind of that focus that Greg was talking about. And obviously we know that from this is that, again, let's enhance this partnership with manufacturers. So I guess the real question there is, what kind of enhancements does this actually make as far as moving forward with manufacturers, the partnerships with retailers, especially designed to grow this business of specialty tobacco retailing? Because as Greg said, if retailing grows, then the industry grows. So from that perspective, for manufacturers, Dan, as we're looking forward at this partnership, for you, what excites you about that, and how does that kind of play out for manufacturers and their involvement?
Well, first, Scott, thanks for having me on. If nothing else, but to rebut the fact that I've been in the business longer than Greg has. I'm not sure where all that came from. But, in all seriousness, I have to tell you, I really value the time that I've spent at the PCA. I value the organization. I've got, through the organization, I made a lot of friends and business partners that really have helped my business, and it's been great for me personally and professionally. I think right now I probably am more optimistic about where the PCA is going in terms of this transition than I have in all the years I've been involved. And I think, for all of us, you have to understand the world has changed. The pandemic has changed the way all of us do business, like it or not like it. Forget the political aspect of it. I know people on all different sides, but we all have got to learn slightly different ways to operate our business. I think the organization, the PCA does, and so does every member company and member retailer. And so I do think it's a very interesting time, and it's probably a very natural time for what we're doing in terms of refocusing the organization. I kind of go back to Greg. For most of the years that I've been part of this, I felt like the PCA, saw themselves as jumping in the breach, really, kind of to defend the industry, much needed, both with intellectual capital and influence, and with money, with all of our funds to really, defend all of us against these various aspects of legislation. And now it just seems like a bit of a natural time to step back, as we all did in the board meeting last year that you talked about, and kind of pivot the focus and go back to this real focus on specialty tobacco retailers, which are the core members of the organization. So for me, I think adding manufacturing right now at the board level, involved in all the conversations, is a great segue. It's the perfect thing to do. You're bringing in, you're tying everybody together again in a way that's most important by having people at the board level. You're bringing in different ways of thinking. And to me, this is about how do we enhance what I view as the marketplace where our businesses interact as a manufacturer and a retailer. It's not necessarily a in-person marketplace, but it is a marketplace where ideas and commerce take place. And that happens for me. Obviously, it happens at the trade show, but it's much more than a trade show. There are a lot of other ways, especially, I think, in the world we're moving into with the changes in the way people like to interact with each other. There are a lot of other B2B ways that our organizations, meaning manufacturers, home companies, and the PCA will intersect. And I think having the setup now focused on specialty retail, which, listen, that's good for everybody's business. When the business of retailers is good, the business of everybody in our industry is good. It's flowing, from the consumer right back to manufacturing, all the way down to the person that's rolling cigars in Nicaragua or Dominican Republic or Honduras, or wherever it may be. So I think strengthening that marketplace by having the best people that we can get together, the brightest, the guys with new ideas, and sometimes it's people that have been around a long time. Sometimes it's people that are brand new to the business that bring a new energy. And I think getting that at the board level and making these changes at the board level will really enhance the work we do and the thinking we do, and allow the organization to focus on things that hopefully grows everybody's business in the room, including manufacturers.
It's a critical point. And I think that kind of really what we've talked about and has kind of really come into focus and crystallized throughout this entire process that we've talked about is PCA being that intersection and providing that platform. And by focusing this now is a way for us to enhance the interaction in multiple ways that you talked about, right? Obviously, it's a new day. Obviously, the business environment is very different now, not only modern times, but pandemic impacted as well. And so what that really signifies is let us find the best places in the intersection of PCA to enhance that platform, to have maximize the interfacing between retailers and manufacturers for the benefit of the retailing sector. And I think that is really kind of, as everybody kind of came together and we worked through all those issues, that's really all that cream rise to the top there. And I think everybody had, I don't want to call it an epiphany when we were talking about this as a board, but it was all just sort of realizing, yes, that's exactly where we need to live. And everybody was excited by that and could sink their teeth into it. And I think that just kind of from what we've heard since the press release has gone out and others is that I've heard a lot of positive feedback about that and wanting to be able to everybody being on the same boat, rowing in the same direction as far as that's concerned. So because of that, and you've brought this up, the board structure now has changed. And so this is obviously a pretty monumental change here. It's transformative, as we've talked about here. And so just so everybody understands is that traditionally the board has been made up of 15 members. It's been 14 retail members and 1 associate member who has been the president of the associate member advisory board. And that advisory board historically has been there to advise on trade show matters, as well as more recent history on other aspects too, as far as legislation areas and litigation areas as well. But now as we look at it is that instead of just in an advisory capacity, getting more board members from the manufacturing sector involved, as you just eloquently talked about, Mike. So now we'll have 5 manufacturers as associate members on the board. Mike, given obviously your history with the board and coming on, we also knew that as part of the executive committee structure, and we do want to dive into this because I think this is probably one of the areas that will maybe help clear up some maybe points of confusion for people or maybe just some perceptions that people may have. But Mike now will be on the executive committee. Generally, the executive committee has had officer positions. Greg as president, Scott Regina as vice president, Todd Nafee as treasurer, and Paul Gross secretary, with John Anderson as the immediate past president as the ex officio. So those are all officer positions on the executive committee. Mike now is the associate member liaison on the executive committee, full voting member on that leadership committee. We didn't create a special officer position per se, but it was a position for the associates to fill in that executive committee. Just real quick, as sort of kind of a global perspective, executive committees are chosen by the board of directors at large to be the group that does the majority of a lot of the work that goes through to help provide somewhat of the leadership direction for the board. However, our bylaws state, and this is a pretty standard operating procedure throughout most nonprofit boards, we have to have a quorum of the board available that has to vote on anything that the PCA does and any changes, directions, whether it be budgets, whether it be trade show related, whether it be any initiative that we undertake. So the executive committee does a lot of that work up front that then goes and presents to the board, and the board then discusses and votes. And no action is taken unless it is done by the quorum of the board. And so we can't do anything by fiat, as I think some people may, sometimes think that happens. So in this new structure, what we have done is again, last year for folks is that we opened up elections now. So all board seats are now elected by the membership at large for the voting members of this association who are the retail members. So in order for us to hit the ground running, we decided to invite the 3 members of these 5 seats on board to begin now. We're heading into a board meeting. We're heading into trade show planning. And we're also heading into planning for future years about what this B2B platform is going to do, how we enhance it, how we innovate and evolve it. So we knew that we needed to have some manufacturer voices, perspectives, and intellects as we work through that. So I'll kind of turn this to you, Mike, real quick. So we obviously because you were on the board and a great natural fit. I know that talked to lots and lots of retailers who are very known, respected, and trusted. And so I think that you're as much of a no-brainer as we could get in that position. And so the other 2, Christian Aurora from CLE, who has been a big active supporter of PCA and done a lot of work for us in the past as well as Alan Rubin from Alec Bradley Cigars as well. Mike, if you could kind of talk a little bit about working with them, and then also Greg as well as that perspective of those manufacturers coming on. And then I'll go into sort of the election so that people can have a little bit better of an idea about how that process actually works. So I'll turn that over to you, Mike.
Yeah, I will say that, people have no idea. I think the average person has no idea how much volunteer work goes into an organization like the PCA or the CRA or the other organizations that represent our industry. The time, the effort, the travel, the getting together and kind of hashing out all of these things. And I will tell you, both Christian and Alan have been tireless in this for years. I mean, since I've known both of them, both guys that are willing to take time away from their own business for the betterment of the industry as a whole. And listen, all of us, this has been a debate on the right way to go forward, especially on legislative taxation, all of those issues over the last 10 years. But as expected, I mean, they're different opinions, they're strong opinions, but these guys are both, first of all, they're both smart guys. And I tell them both, whenever I get a chance to visit, if I'm around their offices, I stop in, have lunch, smoke a cigar with them, ask 3 or 4 leading questions, and then just sit and listen because they're very smart and well-informed guys. But I think What I really respect about both of them is the amazing amount of time they've been willing to put in, which really, I mean, get right down to it. You got X amount of hours a week. If you're willing to put in 15, 20 hours a week in some weeks away from your own business for the betterment of the industry, I shake a guy's hand to do that. And even if there a lot of that is debate, that's how you get to the best answers on the way to move forward. So I'm very happy about both of them. I'm sure the elections coming forward, we'll nominate and find other great members to join for the manufacturing side. But I think it's going to be a great working group as we get actually moving forward, as you say, in the board meeting, I guess, in February.
Yeah. And Greg, from a retail perspective, particularly as the president of the board, if you could, I'd talk a little bit about that, about the perspective of the board of welcoming the manufacturers in, specifically these three manufacturers to start with, but then also in perpetuity as new manufacturers will roll in through elections as well, and what that means for this board and the organization, being able to focus on that mission statement with the manufacturing partners now as part of the board leadership.
Yeah, I think for me and the other members of the board and executive committee, we felt that this was a natural or logical progression in these three choices. Mike has been there as president of the AMAB. Alan has worked on the AMAB as well as Kristen. Alan comes from he's also a board member, I think, on the CRA side. Christian, if he's not a member of CA or a board member of CAA, I know he's at least a member there. So we're trying to, and as Mike said, these guys are brilliant guys and they have a lot of great ideas, but we're trying to encompass people from all different segments of the premium tobacco industry to come in here and to give us fresh ideas. And the way the election process moving forward, we're going to elect two coming up in March, or we'll have some that are nominated in July. They'll be voted on, and I'm excited about that. I think that I wanted also. I know there were some questions out there that people were like, "Well, is it going to be the same old guy?" No, it's up to the membership. We've changed the way we do our elections. This is fully transparent, fully open, fully inclusive of all members that sell specialty premium tobacco products and accessories. So I just want to put that to rest. So anybody that qualifies from the standpoint that our bylaws state, they are eligible to either self-nominate or be nominated, and we will vet them, and then the membership will decide who's going to sit on that board. But I'm excited about this initial group. I think they got a lot of great ideas, and we wanted to hit the ground running, as Mike said, and I think, or Scott, you have maybe said that, but because these guys have been involved, and as Mike said, that it is a commitment. I mean, there are some weeks that it's 20, even more. It could be more than 20 hours a week, depending on what's going on. But over the past few years, because since 2008, it's a different ballgame now. We can't sit by and just have 2 or 3 meetings. And I think the old way of doing it, we had the AMAB as an advisory board, but we didn't meet as frequently as we should probably. I mean, we had a mid-year meeting. We would have a annual meeting, but I think now that we have these guys on a day-to-day basis, giving us ideas and monthly conference calls, I think that we'll be able to, maximize a lot of their advice and hopefully moving forward.
Yeah. And just real quick to kind of explain the election process. So with 5 manufacturing seats divided into 3, so there will be 2 seats that will be open for election. So that will fall in with the same election process that we have for the retail board seats that will be available. So starting March 1st and throughout the entire month of March is the nominating period. So there will just be a form to fill out as it was last year. So it'll follow the process almost identical to last year. fill out that, send in your nominations. Then the nominating committee of the PCA will get together, review, and it's just to make sure that the criteria is met for anybody who has put the nominations in. And then the ballots are created. And then for the entire month of May, from May 1st to May 31st, it's open elections. So any retail member, because that is who is the voting member of the association, can cast a vote for their choice of board members. That's the same way that it worked last year. And so for the 3 open retail seats and the 2 open manufacturing seats, those 5 are the 3 that get the most on the retail side and the 2 that get the most on the manufacturing side will be invited to be board members. And then it will be voted on and certified at the annual meeting, such as it was last year. And so that's the way that the election process will work. And so just real quick as well, for the 3 that were invited on, they will have a 2.5-year term, somewhat of a truncated. General terms are 3 years. So Mike and Alan and Christian will be on through July of 2024. And then the 2 that are elected will start in July and go through July of 2025. If we're starting in 2024, then we will elect the 3 seats to replace Mike, Alan, and Christian. And then the following year, we'd have 2 open seats. And so every other year, it would be 2 open seats and 3 open seats for that. And then it's standard for retail, still 14 seats for retailers. And so every year, 3 seats come up for election for the board seats as well. So in terms of kind of moving forward, just sort of last thoughts here as we wrap up. So as we look at part of the strategic plan and in the future, one of the real things I think a lot of people are kind of looking at here is, so what does this mean for PCA in the future? What is it that we're really looking to accomplish? We've got the mission statement. We've got the board infrastructure that's set up. So we're growing specialty tobacco retailing. And so as we kind of talked about both of that strategic planning meeting, subsequent board meetings, as we look forward, for this year's annual meeting and kind of moving beyond 2022, 2023 and into the future, what is the not advice, but what is the call to membership, Greg and Mike, from your perspectives in terms of getting involved, in terms of how we move forward, and in terms of kind of where we're going as PCA for not just the next year or 2, but kind of the next decade?
Well, I'll jump in there on that one, Scott. I think it's you said something interesting about planning going forward. I just read a day or 2 ago a big article in the Wall Street Journal about how difficult it is for companies that have the most resources and are smartest in their various industries to actually plan past this year into 5-year and 10-year planning. I find all that kind of funny right now. We plan all the time, as we all do, and every month it seems like it's okay. Let's go back and revise the plan with all things pandemic. So yeah. I find that, I think it's interesting. But listen, my point on this is that you have to be involved. You as a manufacturer, you've got to be involved through the guys that are on the board and anyone else. Yeah, I think if you're a manufacturer and you have an interesting idea that involves the PCA, you can pick up the phone and call Scott, or you can call Greg, or you can call anybody else on that board on any day and say, hey, I've got something I'd really like to kind of discuss with you guys. And I would advise everybody to do that and to be involved. It's easy to sit on the sidelines and criticize what any organization does. It happens in every one of our companies every day. We all know it. But get in the game. That's kind of what I would say. And I would hope that over the course of the next few years, there's going to be a lot of change in just the way all of our organizations work. And I don't mean necessarily based on legislation or anything else. I just mean based on the way people want to interact. I mean, if you look at, for instance, this idea of people wanting to go back to their office or not go back, it's a little thing, but you see that changes. There's a lot of studies being done. It's changing all the time. How people want to interact, from a cultural standpoint, and I think that's going to make it interesting for retailers and for manufacturers, figuring out how to connect with that consumer in the way they want to be talked to. And part of where that happens to me is right here at the PCA. And so involvement is key. If you have any interest, if you're wherever you are in this, I think your business is going to be better if you get in, and you can get in either by trying to become a member of the board, or just working through guys that are members, or anybody else that's on the board. I think you can have your kind of say heard, and I would really advise everybody to do that as much as they can. I hope that was the question you asked me.
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely. Greg.
Okay. No, I'm going to pretty much echo again what Mike said. hit the nail on the head. The only thing I would add too is that we do have a committee structure that focuses on particular topics and issues. We have a finance committee. We have a trade show committee. We have a legislative committee. These committees are open if you feel that you have some ideas and want to jump on one of the committees to, kind of feel what we go through here on the board. I mean, that would be huge, and I think that would be a big help. Also, as Mike said, the way we do business is changing every day, and you really don't. For example, the CES show that they just conducted out in Las Vegas normally gets about 250,000 attendees. I think they were talking there might be 60 or 70,000 people. So they're definitely a different way that trade shows are being conducted, and this new formation of the board is hopefully going to tackle some of that because 5 or 6 years ago, whenever we signed these contracts in Vegas, the traditional big annual trade show was the model. That was the horse we were riding. That horse has changed now. We need to be able to figure out, and hopefully with some manufacturing perspective, maybe we can come up. I know I was in a meeting a couple days ago, and we were talking about one of the ideas that we were throwing around for different ways to conduct our annual meetings and our buying events and stuff like that. And one of the guys we were speaking with, one of the manufacturers, was like, I don't like that. Well, I said, that's what we need to know. We need to hear that. We need to talk about that. There is no real plan past 23. We have 22 and 23, obviously, everyone that we're going to be back in Vegas. We're trying to kind of shape the way those shows look because, again, things are different. But moving past 23, we need to have everyone's input and try and make this as easy and as productive and as interactive as we can. So, and what we plan today, might change tomorrow. I think Mike Tyson had a good quote one time. He said, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Well, we got punched in the mouth. We got punched pretty hard. So we need to, and it can happen again. So even though we do fight well above our weight class, but
yeah, that's actually one of the key points that again, it's really interesting, the mission statement. Some people can ask me a couple of questions about that. And, for a long time, tech has been in there, especially in the era of legislation. And growth encompasses that protection, right? And for us, really now having a very strong advocacy foundation and a very good program in place, as you said, that punches well above our weight class. Our ultimate goal in that protection is ensuring a stable and fair business environment for all of our members to operate on. And that helps ensure growth. If you are assured that no new taxes or policies or closures or product bans or any of these other draconian efforts are coming at you, if you are protected from that, then you're able to go ahead and innovate. How do I interact with my customers? What's a better way for me to get more foot traffic in here? Looking at sales, this month in and out, and better marketing tactics or better partnership tactics and events. You can focus on that rather than having to focus on these other things, or it changes day to day. Can I even open up my shop today? So it's all encompassing as part of that. And we're very much looking forward to growing that component of what we do here as PCA. And that manufacturer involvement is very critical for what we do. Again, one of the things that we looked at is there's a lot of manufacturers have sales reps that are out there and involved in this, or brokers that are out there in these states that work alongside our retailers. They're fantastic partners and advocates for us as well. And we need to be able to leverage everybody that we have in this industry when it comes to fighting at the local level. Because as we've seen, right, the opposition has changed tactics because we've been winning. So they want to try to do this, death of 1,000 paper cuts by trying to enact all these locality issues where they can have one community with one law versus another community with another one, thinking that we're going to just basically go die by 1,000 paper cuts because we don't have the ability to defend ourselves in all these places. And so that was another strong reason why this partnership makes even more sense as well. So on that note, it was a question that kind of came in that I wanted to clarify as well. For voting, it is one vote per membership, not per store. And as well, last election cycle, we did have multiple people from organizations that nominate themselves. And so you may only have one person from your organization that may be a board member. So if you're okay competing against each other, if you're from the same organization, that's fine. But it will only be one per organization that is able to serve on the board, whether that's retail or manufacturing. So just wanted to clarify that for that. Mike, Greg, give you all any sort of last parting thoughts here, and then I'll wrap up by letting people know about the members only town hall event that we got going on.
You want to start, Mike?
No, I was just going to say, I think I'll go, Greg, and then you can wrap it up. I think for me, like a lot of things, this is timing, and really the timing is right. It was right when we started this kind of journey in the fall last year to figure out what the organization should be going forward. There is a bit of a change in the entire environment, not only from things related to the pandemic, but really things related to what the industry needs to focus on, where we are in the battle of legislation and so forth. And I think the timing is right, and I congratulate the board, because I think it's as everybody said, it's not always easy duty to look inward and say, maybe we should be something slightly different than what we are. Maybe we need to transition into a different phase. And I think the organization has done that. And me personally, I really look forward to a good year. I think it's going to be, from a manufacturer's perspective, that the AMAB was great for all the years it was in play, but there is a different feel when you're sitting at the board table and having discussions and working through issues with the board. And I believe what that will do from a manufacturer standpoint is it will attract people that in the past said, nah, I don't know if I have time to do that. Now it's you're at a seat at the table, you're in the game, so to speak. Your voice is heard directly with everybody that's leading the organization. So I think it's going to be great from a manufacturer's perspective, and I think that will help the organization. So I'm very pleased and look forward to the next year.
Yeah, Mike,
You're on for 2 years though, so hopefully you're looking forward to both years.
No, Mike, I wholeheartedly agree. I think that this is the right time. We really needed to get back to things that we're good at, and we are good at retailing. There are a lot of great retailers that serve, a lot of great retailers in this association, a lot of great manufacturing partners in the association. See, the businesses are flourishing, and I think this is the right time to put this group together, and I'm excited about the people we have coming in. Look forward to seeing new faces, and I'm really bullish on the next couple of years. I think that we need to be transformative, and I think that there's some stuff that we got some good people in here that can help us do that.
Yeah.
And we're not going away from our roots too. We're going to be here to protect our membership any way we can legislatively, against smoking bans, tax increases, tax caps if we can, anything that would affect our businesses negatively from a government standpoint. And we're going to still be here to fight those battles as well.
Yeah, and in greater capacity because of this. And we'll see some of that come to fruition in a couple of weeks. We're going to be putting out something as a much larger strategy for folks that we've been working on here as part of our government affairs team. We've got something that I'm very excited about. I think that's going to be a transformative change for this industry. It's something I think that's different than has ever been done before, and I do think it's going to help lead us in a much better direction. And then simply just playing defense. And so I'm very excited about that. Our government affairs team has really been working hard and done a phenomenal job, and I'm really excited about this. So that'll be here in 2 weeks that we're going to put that out. The last piece here is that for anybody who is a current member, retail and associate, we will be sending you out instructions on how to join the town hall. We're going to set up a Zoom conference. You guys will get an email. So you have to be a member to be part of that. This is going to be a conversation. This is obviously us being able to kind of explain things a little bit more. That town hall is going to be a conversation. It'll last as long as people want to ask the questions and get clarifications on things. Again, more open communications, bi-directional communications with the board and leadership. If there are concerns, if there's questions, ideas, anything like that, as we're talking about this new structure, mission statement, and programs and services as part of that as we move forward. That's what this format is. That's what this forum is for. So we look forward to people's participation and questions in that. If you're not able to make it, it will be next Wednesday at 2:30 p.m. in the afternoon Eastern time. If you're not able to make it, but you'd like a question answered, or please just email me or call me or Greg as well. We're always available. So on that note, Mike, Greg, I want to thank you both for your time, and very much looking forward to obviously working with you, working with this new board. I very much share your enthusiasm. I'm very excited about this. I think there's a lot of great things that we're going to be able to work on and accomplish here just in the next year, but also in the following years as we implement all of this and really start to see a lot of these ideas now get implemented and come to fruition with everybody's participation.
Thanks, Scott. I appreciate it.
Yep.
And hey, I just want to say one last thing. What is this whole deal with nobody having any hair except me here? Is this something coming towards me? Is this what this organization does to you, or what?
Yeah. So I'm not bald, as I like to say. I'm just taller than my hair, Mike. So
Okay. Right.
yes, absolutely.
After 2 years, Mike, you'll
I
see.
got it. Yeah.
Scott Regina has a full head of hair.
Yeah,
Todd and Paul are still,
That's
clinging
true.
to some hope with theirs as well. So I think you're okay. You're in good company.
All right. Good.
Yeah. So it's good. All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a great rest of your day. And thanks everybody
Thank
for
you, guys.
tuning in. And we'll see members next Wednesday. Take care, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.